Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Legacy FC welterweight Eric Davila. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Eric, you got a fight coming up August 23rd at Legacy FC 22. How's training been going for the fight?
Training's actually been going very well. The diet and everything is doing well. The training camp, I got 6 other guys on the card for my gym, and they're doing great also. So far so good.
Where are you at right now? Are you in Texas or are you in New Mexico?
Lubbock, in Lubbock, Texas, here at my gym. Didn't get a chance to go to Greg's for this camp. I have a bunch of guys that are on the card, so had to be here at home and kind of helping them out, and vice versa, them helping me out. My guys have gotten good enough to where, I'm really not having to leave my gym anymore for good sparring partners. Before I would go to Greg's and just for the sparring time and the caliber of fighters that are over there. And, my guys that I have coming up here, have gotten a lot better. So, the need to go somewhere else it's still kind of there, but just depending on the matchup. The guys that I'm going against, it just depends who it is. But for this one, it was a good camp here, and my guys have been really stepping it up. So.
Yeah, I was curious about that because you obviously have your own gym, you have your own fight team. I was just curious about why you decided to go over to Jackson's, but you said it was to get different looks. So who are some of the guys that you're working with, training them and also helping you get ready for your fight?
I have my little brother, Gino Davila. He's on the card. He's right before the actual televised portion. And he's a good wrestler, good ground guy. I mean, he's like almost a smaller version, but a mirror image of me. So I've been working with a lot of the smaller guys on speed-wise, because Artanius, he's got the nickname Machine Gun, and he thinks his hands are machine guns. So I've just been working more speed and striking-wise on the stand-up with them. I also got Joseph Sandoval, who's an excellent stand-up guy. He went there for an 8-0 run for a while, but his stint in the UFC wasn't too great. It was more of a mental thing, I think, and we're just trying to get him over that hump. But for hand wise and speed wise and boxing and the whole kickboxing deal, I have Joseph there. I have Gino. I have Jesse Moreno, who's on there. He's my 170 guy. He's dropped to 155. A very strong wrestler. Good ground and pounder. Then I have Joe Salcedo. He's an up and coming. He's more of a kickboxer style. He'll be fighting at 45 on the card. And then I got Tomas Moreno. He's a new guy. He's a very hungry kid and learning a lot, learning real quick. So looking forward to seeing all my guys do great on this card. And with a mixture of all of them, I get looks from all over.
Who are some of the other coaches, because helping you out? Because I know you can't be giving everybody all your time when you have a fight to prepare for. So who are the other coaches there that help you out?
I don't have any, man.
Really?
The honest truth.
Really?
Me myself, I did an interview with Legacy, and they asked me, hey, before you had your gym, what would you do? And I would always jump from gym to gym. Just get from different looks. I've really never had a steady coach other than my original ground coach, my jiu-jitsu coach, Ali Elias, when I trained with Evan Tanner and Keith Haring and all those guys up in Amarillo when I first started my career. But 8 years after that, Ali took off to Washington, D.C., and he's still a head wrestling coach up there. And I really haven't had an actual coach. When I went for the stints up in Greg Jackson's deal, my whole deal when I went up there is just to get different looks. But the way it is up there is if you're up in the upper class fighters, when you're up there, that's when you get to train with the big dogs. My main training partners when I go up there are Cowboy, Leonard, Diego, and when I was up there, it was Melvin Gillard. Those were my main training partners when I went up there. But other than that, I really don't have. I've never really had a coach me. Say the truth.
So how do you manage your time when you have to prepare for a fight, but then you got all these other guys who are trying to prepare for fights? Is it kind of just you kind of go with the flow, you kind of work and teach at the same time? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Work and teach at the same time. I had a lot of downtime beforehand.
Right.
So I was able to spend a lot of time game planning a lot of my fighters. And then so now I've kind of veered off on the teaching part and just kind of getting work in. Because I have a fight coming up. It's like I explained to my guy, I was like, I'm not going to be able to spend so much time, as I did before, one-on-one, the mid-holding, the combinations, different stuff. But we're going to have to work together, because I have to get ready for this fight also. And so, I'm just like you said, going with the flow and teaching and working together, and the guys understand that. My team is a big family, so we understand, and it's just like when situations come up in a family and we all deal with it together. That's just the way it is, and that's the way my gym runs.
You haven't fought since you fought against Gerald Harris at Legacy FC 10, February of 2012, so it's been well over a year since you've last fought. What's been the holdup? Why haven't we seen you fight? What has been the cause of this long layoff?
The honest truth, man, it's finding guys to fight me. And making sense of I'm out there. I have another guy from Blue Chip Management that kind of helps look for fights, Brian Hamper, and I think it is just the type of fighter I am. The whole goal and the whole politic game is to have as many wins in a row as you can to make it to the UFC and to get that contract. And I'm just too big of a risk, I think, for guys to fight. I've had a couple where, like with the Dave Monet fight, the Dave Monet fight, it was just I got caught quick, and that was just a rare thing. It was a freak deal, and even Dave admitted it afterwards. He goes, "Man, you just fell into it. I caught you." And I was like, "Yeah, I understand." But like with the Gerald Harris fight, that was kind of like a last minute thing.
Right.
Me and Gerald weren't originally going to fight each other. Nick needed somebody to step in for Linderman. My weight was a little off for the fight with Brunzolis, and it just made sense. And he said, "Would you be willing to fight Gerald Harris?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So 24 hours, no tape, no looking at anything about Gerald, no nothing, and just going in there and fighting. So.
Yeah, you've kind of had a little bit of bad luck. The Dave Monet fight, you were supposed to be on that card, then you weren't on the card, then you were on the card, and then you ended up fighting Dave Monet. And then the Gerald Harris thing, you were supposed to be fighting somebody at 170 who couldn't make 170 or something. I don't remember.
It was me. I was supposed to fight Mike Brunzolis from Strike Force.
Right.
And what had happened with that is I'd gotten real sick, real sick the night before. I don't know what it was, if it was a stomach bug or what the deal was, but I was vomiting all night, and there was no way I was going to cut that last 5 pounds. And Mike didn't want to take the fight, and me and him actually almost got into it at the weigh-ins. It was a big old deal, and after that, Mick was like, "Hey, brother, he goes, would you be willing to fight Gerald?" He says, "Because Linderman is 10 over." He goes, "And Gerald's not having it." I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Hey, man," I said, "it's my fault. I didn't make this weight." Yeah. He goes, "Well, how much more do you want to fight Gerald Harris?" I said, "I'm not going to ask you for any more money." I said, "Let's just do it." Because I felt bad for not making the weight. So a guy like Gerald Harris is 3 times tougher than Mike Brunzolis. He's a hardcore wrestler. He's a UFC vet. So it just, to me personally, I had to make that sacrifice for it. And it was a good fight between me and Gerald. Almost had him there in the third.
Yeah.
But ran out of time, and that's just the way it happened.
Yeah, it's too bad about these last 2 fights because you were really on a nice roll there. You had I think you were on a 4-fight or 5-fight win streak. I think you were 6-1 in your last 7. You subbed Pete Spratt, who's a UFC vet. You also knocked out Brock Larson, who's also a UFC vet. So you were really cooking there. How much did this kind of lower your morale in a way that you've had these two setbacks, and kind of the way they've happened have kind of been circumstances that have kind of been out of your control. How did it affect your morale and kind of your mental side of things?
Mentally, it really didn't affect me, man. I've been doing this for so long, and I've had a lot of highs and lows, and bad luck and stuff like that. So I've pretty much known how to deal with it. I've come off of some bad luck, like the Dave Monet thing, and come back and win 6 in a row. Win 5 in a row, and then you sit around and you're waiting for a call. You beat somebody good, and politics-wise, or who you rub elbows with, you may not get that multi-fight contract because. You're just not in interest to that matchmaker, and that's what you fall into. And so I've been doing that over the years, man, and just kind of just going with the flow with the whole thing. I just keep on fighting and waiting for the next, and I don't shy away from anybody. If you want me to fight GSP tomorrow, okay, let's fight GSP tomorrow. That's just my way of thinking. I've been in the game way too long. To shy away from anybody or to be afraid to fight anybody. And that's just the way I take my fights.
Mm-hmm. Why did Legacy...
I kind of fight the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen some of my fights. I sit in there and I take a lot of punches and just keep coming forward. That's just my style of fighting.
You fought for Legacy at Legacy FC 10. Now you're coming back and fighting for them at Legacy FC 22. So there's a 12-event gap in there. Why so long since you fought with Legacy? Why haven't they brought you back? Why has it been 12 shows since you fought for them?
I think with Legacy, what they're doing, it's they haven't been on TV too long. So wherever they're going, they're trying to use more of the local guy wherever they're putting a show on, and trying to match that up well. I told Legacy flat out, even for this fight, they said, well, wait, do you want to fight at? And I said 170. And they go, well, who do you want to fight? I said, I want to fight for your belt, whoever's got it at 170. Well, they said their interim guy is either going to retire or he doesn't know if he's ever going to fight again. And then Patino holds it, the actual belt, at 170. I said, I'll fight Patino. And they were like, well, they don't know if Patino's going to keep the 70 belt or if he's going to stick at 55. There's talks about Patino going to UFC. There's just so much of that going back and forth. And I was like, well, whoever you guys want me to fight, I was like, it doesn't matter to me. So just, it's here in my hometown, and let's just do it. I love performing here at home. I have a big fan base here. My whole gym has a big fan base here, and I just enjoy it.
Right now, the Legacy welterweight division is wide open. Jeff Rexroad, who you mentioned, he just retired. George Patino, he has the real belt, as you call it. So right now it's wide open in terms of contenders. Pete Spratt, he's in the division, but you hold a win over him. You're in there, but you're fighting Artenis Young. So if you get a win here, is it safe to say that should you win, you're going to be calling for a title shot?
Oh, of course. Of course. That's the whole goal, to try to get get on a televised promotion that's on national television and try to go for their title. And that's really what I want to go for. I may even maybe make a run at 55. I'm not too sure yet. Just depending on how this weight cut goes, and if I don't have too much trouble there at the end, then I may go ahead and just stick with the diet and try to go 55 and see if I can go 55 and 70 for both belts. But like I said, that's future stuff, and you can never tell the future, but that's my plan. I'm going to ask Mick, hey man, put me in line for your title. And like I said, Mick's a good guy. He's a great guy, but he's going to pick and choose who he wants to go for it. It's just it's nothing new to me. It's just like with UFC. If you're not Joe Silva, there's plenty of guys out there right now at the welterweight division that are great fighters and probably do deserve a shot at the UFC, but, politics-wise, you just don't rub elbows with the wrong people, or with the right people to get where you want to be. And that's kind of like where I'm stuck at. So...
This fight is going to be taking place in your hometown of Lubbock, Texas, so it's a home game for you. Just curious, what's your routine like before a fight when you're fighting at home? Obviously, you stay at home, you sleep in your own bed. I'm sure you have a short drive over to the venue, but could you give us a sample of what your routine is like when you're fighting at home?
Fight day for me, man, is just staying at home, sleeping in my bed, like you said, and just spending my time with my family and keeping my focus, because my focus in this whole fight, this fight profession that I took on a long time ago is my family, and the opportunity to make a better living for them, and that's what fighting does for me. And so I spend my time with my kids and my wife, and just kind of try to relax, watch a movie, get to the venue, still relax. Me being a coach, it always happens. No matter where I go, I get into coaching mode. And even though it's my fight night, my wife tells me, you don't need to wrap hands, you don't need to wrap hands, you need to stay focused, you need to stay focused. No, you'll see me there wrapping hands and getting back into coach mode and stuff like that. That's just me, so that's what fight day consists of me, especially if I have somebody else on the card that trains underneath me.
Will you be cornering anyone at the event, or are you just going to be fighter mode and just leave the cornering to other people?
Well, we've been working with some corner teams at the gym. Of course, everybody at my gym, they're not all fighters, but they're fans of it, and they love the sport, they love the team. So we've been working with 6 other guys to help corner. So I won't be cornering at all. I'm just going to stay in fight mode and stay focused for Artinius and see how it goes.
You're going to be fighting Artinius Young on August 23rd. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
Artinius is a tough striker. He brags about his hands. I read one interview on Legacy about him that he's one fight away. This is his last fight out of the UFC, and then he's going straight to the UFC. Well, I don't know if he's trying to hype itself up or if he's trying to hype the fight up, but he's a bit delusional on that one. If he thinks that a win over me is going to get him in the UFC. But with him, he also said that I'm a mistake if I sit there and fight him the way I fight everybody else and stand there and let him hit me. Well, if he knocks me out, he's going to be the first out of maybe damn near 50 fights that somebody's knocked me out. So I'll tip my hat off to him if he can do it.
Yeah, you have a rock solid chin. I don't want you to be offended, but I've heard people say the whole big head thing. With such a big head, it's such a big target to hit. How are you able to handle these shots? Is there any way to train this, or is it just God given? How do you have this granite chin that no one seems to be able to connect with and put you down?
Well, I'm a little bit. People say that I'm a bigger target, and I joke around with people about it, but I move my head a lot. I'm pretty fast. I'm quicker than you can actually see on tape. Some guys, you can look at tape all day, and you don't know really how fast they are until you actually get into the cage with them. You look at guys like Mayweather, he looks slow on tape, but every other guy that steps in there with him, they're like, man, he is fast. So I think I fall into that book a little bit. They kind of underestimate me moving my head movement, and getting to the inside. They don't expect me to sit there and get to the inside like I do, or catch them at all. Look at Pete Spratt. Pete Spratt's taller than me, great striker, devastating leg kicks. And the honest truth, when I fought Pete, he said the same thing. I would be dumb to stand up and fight him. And if you hear the commentators, they're like, Eric is stupid, big head, I don't know why he's standing there, trying to kickbox with a kickboxer. The only reason I beat him by submission is because I dropped him with a knee right to the face. I don't know if you've seen the fight.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
And rocked him, and instead of ground and pounding him, and I kind of knew Pete, I was like, he's hurt, let's just submit and get it over with. That's really what I was thinking, because Pete, before the fight, we were pretty much friends. He's come to my gym, we were acquaintances, and talked to each other in past fights, and me and Pete had known each other for a while. But I kind of take that as a challenge when people tell me that I'm afraid to stand up with them, or I'll be stupid to stand up with them, and kind of try to prove them wrong. That's just, I guess it becomes a personal goal for me. So, like with Artinius, I'm not going to be afraid to stand with Artinius. And he also said I had a minor jiu-jitsu game, but, I got 15 wins by submission. I've been doing this for a long time, and when I first started, that's all I knew was submission and ground stuff, and then I started training kickboxing and Thai boxing and boxing and just mixing it up, and so I got more comfortable with my stand-up game, and it's been working for me.
You were talking about your speed earlier, and you definitely have the speed. The only fight that I've seen live that you've had, I've seen many of your fights on video, but only one time live. That was the Brock Larson fight, and you fought him for Extreme Challenge, Monty Cox show. You fought him in Brock Larson's hometown. I actually blinked my eye and it was over. I'm not even kidding you. I missed the whole thing. I looked down for a second and it was over. 7 seconds. How did it feel? Did it feel like, longer than 7 seconds? Did it feel shorter than 7 seconds? When you get a knockout that quick, how does it feel?
It felt shorter, to tell you the truth. I thought I was in the running for like the quickest knockout. I think 4 seconds is the quickest knockout or something. I thought I would have been in the running in MMA for like the quickest knockouts in MMA.
Right.
But, they told me it was 7 seconds, and after I looked at the tape, it was like, okay, 7 seconds, So, yeah, it did feel quicker. It wasn't something that I was like surprised about. I did my homework on Brock. I knew how he did that lazy jab and how he was going to leave it open, and that's why I switched to a southpaw. I'm ambidextrous, so I can fight southpaw and orthodox. And that's why I double hooked with my right and caught him with the second one, and then when he was coming down, caught him with the overhand left, and then just hammer fist, and he was already out before he hit the floor. So.
Yeah, what a fight. What a way to go in there, 7 seconds in the guy's hometown, get in there and get out. Excellent job. That's
Well, thank you. And it's like I tell people all the time, I hate to use Brock as an example for what I talk about the way I fight. I that goes to show you I'm not intimidated. I don't care who I fight. And that's intimidating enough. Come into Brock's show, and it's his show, his promotion. Coming in his backyard, and him coming out the WEC after actually a title contender. Right. Everybody thought he was going to run through me, and it's just one of those things. Hey, we come to fight. If it happens, it happens. He's never been dropped before, even before that fight. Right. He's never been knocked out. So it was a great accomplishment for me. But it's nothing that I dwell on and say, yeah, I'm awesome for doing it or anything like that. It's just, it's just one of those things that I just keep on trucking along and try to make myself better. Yeah, I was sitting in press row for that fight, and someone asked me about you because they had never seen you fight before, and I was telling them, I think Eric can win this fight if he lands early. And, if I think it goes to the later rounds, I think that Brock will just take him down and try to grind on him and win a decision. And sure enough, you proved me right. You went in there and got it done real quick, so you made me look like the smartest guy ever, so thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, your opponent, Artinius Young, he has a 4-second knockout.
Not really, because that really wasn't a knockout. Have you seen the video?
Oh, I've seen it.
It was horrible. I mean, if you call that a knockout, that's not a knockout. That's a guy from across the cage that was afraid of him, that he had intimidated early and balled up in a ball and just rolled up and just sit there. That wasn't a knockout to me. Seeing him hit somebody clean, like Brock, and seeing them their toes fold, that's a knockout. So, I mean, I don't consider that a 4-second knockout for him. I consider that a verbal submission, pretty much, of that 4 seconds. So.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of just the referee dove in there to save him, whereas in your case, there was nothing else for the referee to do. Brock Larson was completely out of it. So I agree.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
No, I was just saying on that deal. I mean, when a guy doesn't even throw a jab at you, and as soon as you come in and just falls, I don't consider that. The kid was intimidated. He was, Artinius was above his class. by far. I mean, that kid was just, he saw Artinius jumping, yelling across the cage, wasn't afraid of him, and that kid just folded. I mean, that's really not a good opponent. I mean, to brag about, you know, even with me beating Brock, I don't even brag about that. You know what I mean? I don't brag about any of my knockouts. You know, he's not my, you know, Brock wasn't my first knockout. You know, I got knockouts on my record that you can call those knockouts. That one, I don't consider it. You know, I've seen Artinius fight. Not to say that Artinius don't have power in his punches, and he's not a great striker. I've seen him make some guys look ugly, you know, tears people's face up. I've seen him do it. And, you know, but it's still not intimidating to me. You know, me and him are going to go toe-to-toe. You know, I like Artinius. He's a character. He's a funny guy. He's out there. But, like I said, it's going to be different when we fight each other. So.
Yeah, I've interviewed him in the past. You know, really nice guy. Nothing bad to say about the guy. He's a really nice guy, and I think he's a very tough, very good competitor. But Eric, where do you see this fight playing out? Do you feel that, you know, I don't want you to give away your game plan, but do you feel that, you know, a key for you to win this fight is to push the pace, is to be in his space? Because we've seen his runs at welterweight haven't been that great. He's gotten tired in the late rounds, and he's really not looked his best. Is that the key? You know, I don't want you to give away everything, but, you know, is that the key to victory, is to push the pace?
Of course. I push the pace with everybody and try to make them work. And you know, that's the thing with me, is my cardio has always been there. I've never been one to lay down and not make a good fight out of any fight that I've been in with. You know, I fought big monster guys, you know, at 85. These guys are huge, you know. I fought, like when I fought Andrade, you know, I mean, in 09, I fought like 8 or 9 times that year. I mean, back to back, and you know, my cardio always had to be there, and my cardio has always been there. And I've seen Artinius, you know, I saw his fight on Bellator also, and you know, pushing the pace, he was dying. But, you know, of course, we all have our bad days. Right. You know, maybe that was just a bad day for him. Maybe he was sick. Maybe he was vomiting before the event. You know, I don't know. And, you know, I never underestimate anybody that I fight. And I'm not underestimating Artinius, but I'm also not going to sit there and let him boast and say that I picked a bad time to step in front of him. You know, he did that at a Legacy interview and said that I picked a bad time to step in front of him because he's, I don't know, I guess he's in next line for UFC, he thinks, which I highly doubt, but it is what it is. You know, he's not going to intimidate me with words. He's not going to sit there and intimidate me across the ring like he did with his first guy that he did his 4-second knockout. And, you know, he's in for a long night if we do go all 3 rounds.
Now, you say that you don't really believe too much in the possibilities of, if he beats you, he gets a call to the UFC. Is that based on just what you've seen from him in his fights, or is that kind of based on your experiences? Because there was a time, like I was mentioning earlier, where you were cooking and you probably should have gotten a call to the UFC and it didn't happen. Is it more based on his skill, or is it more based on the experiences that you've gone through in dealing and trying to negotiate and trying to get there?
It's based on my experience, man. Take nothing away. He's a talented fighter, like you said. You know, Artinius is talented. Right. You know, I give him that. But through my past experiences, you better have at least 5 in a row against some decent fighters before UFC even tries to come and call or knock at your door or try to get you in there. You know, he may have a stint back at Bellator, but if he's thinking UFC, that's just, with my experience, that's just a tough deal. You know, and with my friends and good buddies like Leonard and Cowboy and all those guys, you know, from my experience and them telling me the business and you know, how to get there and how to work with different management companies, and some management companies can get you in there quicker, but take a bigger percentage out of you. It's just a gamble. It's just a lot of politics. I just think by experience he's not going to, even if he beats me, he won't have a shot at the UFC.
You're 36 right now. Do you feel that as of right now it's probably not likely to make a run in the UFC, or do you feel that that's not a ship that's sailed? Do you still feel that that's a possibility? Because we usually don't see many guys who are in the age bracket that you're in, who haven't been in the UFC before, get that first-time shot at the age of 36. At this point, are you still confident that it will happen?
Oh yeah, I always look at the glass. Instead of being half empty, I look at it half full. I'm always an optimist with a bit of realism in it. And the way I tell people, if I make it to the UFC, it'd be the icing on the cake. If I fight in the UFC, that's the icing on my MMA career. Because that's the pinnacle of our sport, and that's where you want to be. And if I don't, I think I'd be content because I've been a successful guy in MMA. A lot of people know who I am. They know my name. They've seen some of my fights, and they can tell you, Big Head, that's a tough son of a bitch. He never made it to the UFC, never got his shot. If they were sitting there saying, and I never get my shot there, they would sit there and say that, man, but he was a damn good fighter. And I've had success. I'm running my own gym now. I'm working on my second gym here in Lubbock, and everything's going well. I molded Joseph Sandoval. I got into the UFC within 2 years. He's a reflection of me and my coaching skills also. It's just, and I got a bunch of up-and-comers that are going to be on this card that if I never make it to the UFC, I can live it through them, and I'd be content with that. Now, that's why I say if I still think I can make it to the UFC and still compete, and, who knows how good I would do there. You never know till you're actually in there with those guys. But I've fought guys, and I've beat guys who've been there. You just never know. So, on an answer to that, do I think it's going to happen? It could. It could. I think they just had one guy, what was he, 41? Just knock out Magolis, or what was his name? The Brazilian kid? Magolis?
I think it's that.
The guy was like 41 and knocks him out. And Magolis was on a win streak there for a while. So, there's always hope. There's always a chance.
You've been fighting a very long time. I think you've been in the sport 18 years? You started fighting when you were 18, right?
Yeah, about 16 years, something like that.
Okay.
16, 17 years. Yeah.
You've been fighting a very long time. I'm just curious, why haven't you gotten that call? Why didn't the UFC maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, why didn't they give you that call to fight for them? What's been the holdup? Why haven't you gotten that call?
Well, when I first started, fighting. I took a 5-year layoff about when I was 20. I think I was like 22 or 23. I took a 5-year layoff. My wife had gotten sick on me. She had gotten a stint of cancer, and between me and my wife, we have 7 kids. So I had to take on the role back then. The money wasn't great. It was just me doing it for the love and the passion for the sport. And I had to bow out a little while and take care of my wife and take care of my family. So I took a 5-year stint off. And I think that had a little bit to do with it. No regrets at all. 5 years later, my wife tells me, hey, I see you got something missing in your life. We need to go back to Lubbock. We need to go back to West Texas where you started it all. Because we were staying there in Kerrville, and we were San Antonio. And, I agreed with her. And at first I fought her about it because I didn't want to come back to West Texas. And I said, the gyms will come to San Antonio. It's a big San Antonio. It'll happen. And my wife pushed me to come back home. And when I came home a year later, got back into fighting, started training again. And started fighting even more. And then 2009, that's when I was working. I was still working a full-time job. I was a manager in the meat market, and I just told him I need to make a run for it. So in 2009, I just quit my job and went full-time and fought 8 times, and the call didn't happen, and it was kind of a reality check and sitting there say, you need to pay the bills. Your body can't take 8 fights in a year. The constant training, the constant fights, fighting guys at 85 and then fighting guys at 70 and just going back and forth. Some of these guys are monsters, and just going through the the injuries for over that year, I told my wife I may have to go back to work and, maybe just do this as a part-time thing. And sure enough, God answers prayers and stuff like that, and I landed the gym. That's when this franchise here wanted me to take over a gym and start a MMA cardio class and an MMA school and just get after it. And here I am 4 years later. So still trying to make it happen.
Earlier you said that if you don't get that call to UFC, if you never get a chance to fight there, you'll be okay with that because you have a lot of students who are talented guys who are up and coming, and you've already put a guy in the UFC, but you have other guys who have the potential to go there. Is that what you like? Is that what you like coaching? Do you like coaching those guys who are very, very green?
I love coaching guys who have the same drive and the same motivation and the same want out of an MMA career as I did. And I have quite a few guys like that. I have really good-hearted guys that understand that to stay humble in the sport, don't be a jackass. Don't be one of those idiots that are out there just trying to get on a show or just trying to do that. Keep your feet planted to the ground, and God will bless you with it. And, I have quite a bit of guys in my gym that are very talented, and they just need somebody who's been through the good managing, the bad management, telling them the good and the bad of the sport, and how to handle certain things. Who else can they learn from somebody like me that has been through so many fights, so many ups and downs? So many people who want to be in your corner. Just like I tell my guys, I said, when you guys start winning and you guys start getting up there, everybody's going to love you. Everybody's going to want to be a part of you. But when you lose, see who's around and see who still believes in you and see who's still behind you 100%. And, Joseph is one of those guys who understands that. When he was on his way to UFC, you had every manager in the book calling him, hey, I can get you in the UFC, I can get you these deals, I can get you that deal. Got sponsors, he had all these people calling him and, patting him on the back and kind of filling his head and giving him a big head about it. And as soon as he didn't have a good stint in UFC, everybody just disappeared. There's no more calls, there's no more sponsors, there's no more, oh man, you're going to get back on the horse again, you're going to be good, There's everybody gave up on him except for me. And that's just the kind of coach I am, and that's the way I'm going to be in the future. God willing, if he leaves me here on this earth for many, many years, I plan on having many, many fighters in the UFC. Because I know I can do it. I know I can coach them there. I know I can guide them there. So.
When you decide to coach guys, would you prefer to work with them since day one or young in their career, or are you open to working with the guys who are veteran guys who maybe they have fallen on hard times and are trying to work their way back up and maybe rebuild them? Are you more open to working with the younger guys, or are you open to bringing in a veteran guy and trying to reestablish him? Do you have a preference either way?
No, not really. I'm just open to see if their heart is in the right place and their mind is in the right place. It really doesn't matter if it feels better when you mold somebody from the ground up. Because you've actually taught them, they've learned from you, and you've got it there. But I help guys that train at different gyms. You got guys like Derek Campos, who's in Bellator right now.
Right.
He trains with me on and off. He's a tough kid, talented. He's been doing well here lately. I've helped him out. I've helped, numerous guys. I would love to help Leonard get back into the UFC if he can get down here. But the thing is, he needs a change of pace. Like guys like Leonard, he doesn't change his style much. And I don't know if it's the coaching or what the deal is. But guys like Leonard and guys who have not there, making their way back, I would love to work with guys like that.
Eric, last question. I've noticed a pattern here. When you and your brother fight on the same card, you're 2-0 when you fought on the same card. I believe you fought only twice. This will be the third time that you guys fought on the same card. You're 2-0. He's 0-2. Is this just a coincidence, or is there something there? Because I've heard some theories of maybe you're not giving enough focus to him there, and that's why he hasn't done as well. Is there anything to this, or is it just a coincidence?
I think it has something to do with it, man. His focus before, and he's barely understanding that, there may be a time and a place where I'm not going to be there.
Right.
and you got to take things upon yourself to win, to be smart, to analyze your opponent and stuff like that. And we've been working on that this past year with my little brother. Mm-hmm. And, when I'm in his corner, I can pull that fire out of his ass to get what he needs to get done. He looks at me as older brother. I've paved the way. I've opened up a door for him in MMA. And, I think that working his corner and me being there has a lot to do with his winning here lately. I think he's going to be fine for this fight. He's got a tough kid. John Voss is a very good wrestler, similar style with him. But I think his focus in this training camp that we just had is different. Mm-hmm. I think he'll be fine. So I think we'll both be okay.
Mm-hmm. Eric, how do you defeat Artenis Young on August 23rd?
I see him with his hands down and mine's up. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it.
Very good, very good.
And at the end of the day, give him a hug and give him a kiss on the cheek and tell him good luck with his future career. Mm-hmm. That's it, man. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at all my guys that I fight.
Definitely. Eric, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Chris Bourne. He's been with me since I've been back home here 4 years, all 4 years, and he's had me in my low times and been there with me in my high times. I mean, he was there with me all the way in Minneapolis. He's been in the hot box with me to cut weight, seen me struggle. I want to thank him most of all. I want to thank my sponsors, Montelongos, Mexican restaurant. They're the ones that get me fat. When I'm off season, the Mexican food, they put that on you real quick. I want to put, American Pain and Body, Mr. Amos out there. He helps me out. Julian, those guys have always been behind me, always been a supporter of me here in Lubbock. I got Powerhouse Nutrition who helped me with my supplements and keep me right for this camp. My chiropractor who keeps me straight, he's a great guy, Dr. Robert Buchanan from 34th Street Chiropractic. That guy's awesome. But last but not least, I want to thank my beautiful wife for being there for me. These past 16 years through the ups and downs of my career, and when I fall, she's there to pick me back up and keep me moving and keep me focused. And I just want to thank the rest of my family for always understanding, that it's not all glamorous. That this career, this MMA career stuff is not all glamorous, and they understand that, and they've sacrificed with me. So just want to thank them for it.
Mm-hmm. Eric, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck August 23rd at Legacy FC 22 against Artenis Young.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the interview.